Welcome to the Eye of the Observer podcast, where we interview newsmakers and fascinating personalities at Elgin Community College and discuss news and cultural topics to inform and entertain you. My name is Vanch, and I'm joined by
Eric
and
Matthew.
And today's podcast is sponsored by Columbia College of Missouri. Begin a new chapter at Columbia College of Missouri in Elgin, offering flexible, affordable degrees for real lives and real responsibilities. Located locally on the ECC campus, you can take classes in person or online, all at your own pace. Apply today at elgin.ccis.edu. Columbia College, building new paths to success. Let's go right into how to write a good resume. So, Matthew, starting off the bat here, why is writing a good resume important?
So when applying for a job, you want to give the best impression possible, right? People usually take first impressions as the first hint at who you are, right? They don't meet you for very long in an actual interview. So writing a resume gives a good background on who you are, your accomplishments, and your personality. That's why it's important. You need to, have a written explanation of why you want to apply, who you are.
You really went into why it's important. But I mean, honestly, a lot of people and a lot of managers especially, they look at formatting. Because if you cannot format a resume correctly,
it shows you're unorganized.
It shows you're unorganized. That's definitely right, Eric. First things first, your name should stand out at the top in the header, Name is the biggest thing on the page. You can include your full address, but city and street works just as fine. Phone and professional email is important. How in the world are you going to get a job when you didn't include your phone number and email address, so we have no way of contacting you? Just saying. Eric and Matthew, have you ever written a resume without a phone number or an email?
No, because that's my point of contact.
Yeah. How are they going to talk to me any other way?
Right.
Exactly. And by email, I don't mean the email you created at 10 years old,
Make sure it doesn't say, that shark guy 123 at gmail.com.
Yeah, obviously, a professional email, And I also want to include this. Don't put your student email as your email. I don't know how, it's not about unprofessionalism. It's just putting your student email as the email. Just why? That email's, it's stuck in your employment record forever, basically. And just doing that, no. That's a big no-no. Moving on from the actual resume header, you want to go into the content, the body of the resume, I guess. Instead of an essay, we're going to say resume. And you don't want to go straight into your education. No one really cares. You can go to high school, you can go to college. No one really looks at education until maybe last. You want to go into your experience in the job. For example, I'm a pharmacy tech working at Jewel Oscar right now. I will include that in my experience. I'll also include my other relevant credentials, such as, I'm a photographer for the Observer, or I'm a podcast host. Or for Matthew, he wants to go into medicine, so he'll include medical related experience. Or let's say for Eric, he's a business major, so he might want to work for a startup. He includes credentials relative and related to the startup.
Yeah, and I guess chronology is important, right? If we talk about the content, we want to also go from experience into our qualifications, right? Giving a summary of what we want to do is kind of expressed in how we lay it out, right?
Right. Okay, hold on. So here, I'm going to ask you guys about this. So when you're looking at a resume, say if you're an owner of a business, or say I'm the manager at your pharmacy job, Joe Osco, sorry. The manager usually looks at the resume for 6 seconds. So in those 6 seconds, what would you guys want to focus on when you're looking at a resume?
Making it stand out. I mean, I don't want to make it all flashy, but at least have what's important to be bolded. Your name, your contact information should be at the top because it's the first thing they probably look at, right?
Right.
So listing the important stuff if they really only just glimpse at it, right?
And I mean, I've, recently I've done a lot more hiring, related jobs per se in my pharmacy career so far. And I mean, when I look at resumes, I don't look at their name until last. I don't care what your name is, but I care about experience, obviously.
Right.
I don't really care about your education. The worst student can be a really good worker. I'm just saying, you can maybe not have graduated from college, but you can still be the best top of the line worker out there. So education is not really a big
necessary requirement to put in your resume, but if you want to make it longer, then yeah, include it.
And actually, while we're talking about length, 1 page.
Don't make it 2
one
pages.
page. If you make it 2 pages, it's getting thrown out. That's rule of thumb for a lot of managers, because 1-page resumes are showing that you are consistent, or not consistent, but you're concise. You know that you can summarize your entire life in working or in jobs into 1 full page that represents who you are. And that's a big thing that employers tend to look at. And I don't know, Matthew or Eric, if you know this. I saw this recently on social media. This one influential guy, I forgot his name, but he was really influential in the basis that he actually pointed something out. College and school is showing to an employer that you've committed to something for at least 12 years of your life. Okay, you have went there. You did enough to pass every single grade. For 12 years, you showed up, you did your homework, you did everything, and you went home. That's a huge thing in employers. If you haven't graduated high school, not a big deal, obviously, right? But there's always some jobs that are like, oh, you need to have a certain education requirement. Not maybe because it's their preference, but maybe because that's what the job entails.
Right. For like a common job, like they might not require this educational stuff, but I know for medicine that if you want to be like a medical assistant, you need some sort of training prior, unless you're going in as an intern, right? You need to be certified in at least CPR if you're going to do it as well. Like there are certain things that you have to do, and that's I guess what's important about writing resumes, right? Is knowing what you really need to do prior.
That you want to put yourself in the manager's position, right? You want to ask yourself, what would this person do for me when you're writing your resume? You want to show some value to yourself. You don't want to just be a face in the crowd. You want to stand out essentially. You just want to show that you're an important person and that you will do whatever it takes, for that job when writing a resume.
Right. And remember, layout is important, as they mentioned. A page for resume is good. And make sure your details are to the point. You don't need to write sentences for when you're describing yourself. Sometimes you can put bullet points.
Oh yeah, bullet points, and make sure you always add details as well, right? Because you want to make sure when you're writing a resume, you don't want it essentially to be so, I guess you can say, boring in quotations, to the point where somebody can just copy and paste it and place it in their own resume.
And that includes really quick that no paragraphs.
No paragraphs.
No paragraphs. Just
Yes.
bullet points. If you put a paragraph that isn't related, let's say, you don't need to tell the manager, whoever you're reaching out to get hired, what the job entails. No, you don't need to tell them that. They know it. They either worked that job before, they know the position, anything really. They know what that entails. You don't need to put at the top of your resume, oh, I'm applying for a pharmacy tech job, blah, 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 I'm this and that. You don't need to put that down. They know what the job is. They know why you're going to apply for the job. Maybe not per se that you need the job, you just need the experience. Because I know in professional and graduate schools, especially in pharmacy school, they look for experience in the medical field. And that's a huge positive, especially if you're already certified and you go to pharmacy school. You will easily get in compared to if you're just, a janitor and then you apply to pharmacy school. You'll obviously get in if your credentials are relevant, but you won't get in based on the fact that you're just a janitor. If you just told them I'm a janitor.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
I wouldn't hire that person. So, okay, with education, do you guys think you guys should list your GPA?
In specifics, I think so. Yeah, it depends on the job. If
Like
you're
self-achievements?
applying to McDonald's, I don't think they really care. But if you're applying for a nursing office, they care.
Right.
If you're applying for welding, let's say, as specific as that is, they care, It's more of the specialty jobs that matter, right? Ones that you get education for.
But here's my at least rule of thumb on that is if your GPA is under a certain point, I like to say 3 and up is good. 3.5 is better.
If it's 3.5 or above, list it. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because anything underneath that, it might actually negatively impact you. And especially for those because if you don't know, I'm a dual credit student, so I'm a high schooler. I don't have a diploma.
Right.
I don't have a high school diploma. So in lieu of that, I put in extracurriculars instead for work experience and just to try to make up for the fact I don't have a diploma yet. I'm working towards a diploma and associate's degree at the same time. So I have to balance that out with, extracurriculars, volunteer experience, and those will show to an employer that, even though he hasn't completed this necessary thing, it's really important, by the way, diploma. Recommend that everyone gets it and also gets a college degree
for
too.
A job's sake, yeah.
But even if you don't have that, it will tell the employer, whoever you're trying to work for, that this person, he is committed, he's ready to go. In terms of actually hiring him, we may have a better chance with him than based on another person who's saying, I have no work experience, no education, nothing. My resume is just one line, and that is just my first and last name, my email, and my phone number. And compared to that person and your resume is just superior. And a big thing to remember, and honestly, I know a lot of people are guilty of this, especially me as well, but it's better to create your own resume rather than using a formatted resume or somewhere, for example, like resume.io, where they provide resume templates. Unfortunately, and this is just the most unfortunate thing ever, not only you will have to pay for it, that's the first thing, and I don't think anyone wants to pay for their own resume, but it might mess up when you're actually submitting it to your employer. And as a person who looks at resumes as well, it is severely catastrophic if I see someone's resume being completely out of
Order,
order.
unorganized, destroyed,
Yeah.
and that's just a bad look to anybody, really.
Yeah, if like Matthew's resume, he applied to the position of being a pharmacy tech.
Let's say I did, yeah.
Right, yeah. Let's say he
say I
did.
did.
I didn't.
Let's say he did, okay?
Wink, wink.
Oh my god.
Let's say he did,
I know you guys want me
and
to do it.
and I see his resume, and I see that he put his education first. He has no work experience listed, not even volunteer experience or anything like that.
He's just a
His
horrible
formatting
kid.
is off. He's using 15-point font. It's double spaced like an essay, and this man's trying to follow MLA format. Now, let me remind you something: a resume is not an essay. You don't pour your heart out into it and then send it to a professor to grade. No, this is something that everyone will see. You're not only the manager that you're going to work for is going to say there's a hiring manager, there's corporate, there's the actual like site that will host it like indeed.com or LinkedIn. They will see that too because you've uploaded on their website. So essentially, there's so many people who are going to look at your resume and be like, oh, wow. And in Matthew's case, oh, wow, Matthew, you are not getting hired.
Okay, I
And-
didn't even apply.
and even though he didn't apply, it's just it's a couple red flags that a lot of employers tend to look out for, because getting a job is a serious thing. Not only is you're being in pharmacy at least, you're being employed, so they're paying you, you're on payroll, but they spend money to train you. Did you know that training is more expensive than actually like the person working for like a year?
Is it actually?
Because they have to provide you all the training materials. They have to twice a year train you, retrain you, recertify you, whatever. They pay for all that.
Okay. I mean, I
And-
can actually see it, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, when you have tons of employees and you get money, it doesn't matter. It's a margin amount. But when it comes to you wasted all that money on one person who turns out to leave in the
Right.
next day, that's a waste of money.
So I want to go back to what you said with writing your resume. You know how you said don't pour your heart out? The only time you want to deal with the resume is when writing your objective. Because, of course, you want to include your objective on why you're applying for that job. So make sure you not really pour your heart out. Don't make a full paragraph, just a short, like a 2-sentence, and just in short, just write why you want that job, why you're applying for it.
concise way. Yeah, I see what you mean.
And with clear and concise being like the key focus here, I just want to reiterate this because I've seen people put paragraphs on your resume. Don't do that. Bullet points. If you want to show, like, for example, the Observer won state awards. If you haven't noticed, we've won a bunch of awards this year. And let's say we wanted to make a resume. We will not put in paragraph 1, oh, the Observer. Okay, that's our name. We did everything right. We put the heading. We put everything in there. But then it goes into, for example, work experience, staff photographer, 1 ACP award. That's great. Amazing. Beautiful. 10 out of 10. But then you can't just go, as a staff photographer, my job entailed of taking photographs for the Observer and making sure that everyone was clear and concise on their communication. I'm saying a lot of weird words like lorem ipsum at this point, but
Yeah.
you get the point. What sounds better? 1, 2 ACP awards, or a staff photographer taking photography for, XYZ authors or whatever? What would sound better to you guys?
An award.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, you want to first mention your accomplishments, and you want to mention what you did in the job. But you don't want to make it more than like 3-4 bullet points, because space is your enemy.
Yeah.
You'll make it short, really short. And so where we're getting all of this information from, or some of it, I should say, because, of course, all this sometimes includes personal experiences, of course, like with Vanch reviewing resumes. We're using an anatomy of a resume, which you can find on elgin.edu on the Career Services website, which, honestly, you can schedule an appointment with them. They can help you write your resume if you want to. Essentially, like the Right Place or the Math, what do you want to go? The Math?
The
What-
Math Lab.
Math Lab, yeah, that. Never visited in my life. But yeah, they're just there to help you. So I strongly suggest to go, use it. And
utilize it.
Utilize it.
and learn from it, right?
Right.
So the anatomy of a resume explains the ins and outs of writing a good resume and how you can apply the basic tips and tricks that they put on their pages to an actual resume. So you guys have any examples for us of what they put in there?
So I'm actually holding one right now. So a couple of tips. Something that we haven't talked about is like targeting qualifications. And as I quote from the anatomy resume, or anatomy of a resume, top 1/3 of your resume should prove your qualifications based on job, considered an objective career title, profile, and or core. To summarize how you're qualified, use keywords from ad. For example, like the job ad, the job post ad, obviously. And hard skills, not just soft skills, tailored to the job. For example, data entry or customer retention, upselling products, vendor communication, account management. I'm just saying a lot of examples, but those are some hard and soft skills that you can put in. And always, your resume should always be tailored to the specific job post. So let's say you are a waiter, and now you're a pharmacy tech. Don't use the same resume. As a waiter and as a pharmacy tech, there's different things. I'm making hand gestures. There's different things because if you use the resume that you applied to become a waiter or a server or whatever, you can't use that as a pharmacy tech because
It's just not going to work out.
it's just not going to work out. You don't have the skills that are qualified or that makes you qualified for the job.
Well, I
And-
wouldn't say you don't have the skills that makes you qualified for the job because you can still use like customer service, for example. That's still an amazing skill to have. Know how to treat the customer, especially being a pharmacy technician, because you deal with angry customers, happy customers. They come and go.
Yeah, but and the thing with that though is in pharmacy or anything medically related, customers aren't the priority in terms of calling them customers. We're not salespeople. That's the first thing.
They're there.
Patient care.
Patience. Care.
There's always a specific words and terminology you want to use. So instead of customer care,
Right. I mean,
you want to use patient.
would you say they're the same thing?
No?
A customer is a consumer. They're to buy things.
Okay.
And that's their sole purpose. There's no emotional affiliation. If you are a patient, you're there to get service that's helping you emotionally and physically, and I guess physiologically.
What I mean by customer
mostly.
service is I meant like knowing how to treat the person that's right in front of you, essentially.
Yeah.
Not lashing out on them if they give you a bad mood. That's a great skill to have as well, and that's a skill that you can apply to any other job, really.
Right.
So once again, if you guys didn't hear me before, I strongly suggest go visiting the career services to help you write your resume. And if you want more information, go visit them, and they can help you write your resume to how you want it. Or if you don't know how to write a resume fully yet, I would strongly suggest to go pay them a visit.
And a big thanks to our listeners and a big shout out to our sponsor, Columbia College of Missouri. Remember that you can begin a new chapter at Columbia College of Missouri in Elgin, offering flexible, affordable degrees for real lives and real responsibilities. Located locally on the ECC campus, you can take classes in person or online, all at your own pace. Apply today at elgin.ccis.edu. Columbia College, building new paths to success. And a huge thanks to Indy for editing today's episode. And to learn more about The Observer and to see our work, make sure to visit elginobserver.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Observer Newspaper and on TikTok at Elgin Observer. Until next time, my name is Vanch, and that's
Eric.
and
Matt.
we'll see you guys next time.